This is A to Z with Mark Zinno, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, and it starts now.
Good afternoon. Welcome to A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, where today I tell you I can't believe I'm still doing this. Welcome in. We are live here on this Wednesday. A lot to do on the show today as we got a playoff-bound Braves baseball team and more of a gift for the University of Georgia. We'll explain that coming up on the show. Give us a follow on Twitter at LockedOnATL. Of course, I'm at Mark Zinno, MarkZinno. Make sure you check out all of the great shows here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Plus, we're on Roku TV. You got an Amazon Fire Stick. You can find Locked On ATL every day on Roku TV as well. Don't forget to make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give that thumbs up and like all the content you see there. All right, let's start today. I don't need, when putting the show together today, I didn't want to lead off with this. I tried actively to find a way not to lead off with this, but I just couldn't do it. I couldn't resist. And we're back here again discussing Kyle Pitts and his target share. And the reason we are is because, and I say this plainly, folks, again, what have I told you repeatedly? It's like my job to read everything that people write about Atlanta sports teams. It's my job to listen to a variety of different sports talk media about this town, in this city, podcast, whatever it may be, to sort of digest and take the pulse of what the market is. And I can't help but, still all day yesterday, hear complaining about Kyle Pitts' target share. I just, it's like one of those things where you're not paying attention if you don't understand. If you're still whining about it, you're not paying attention because you don't understand what you're looking at. And you're telling on yourself that you really don't understand what you're looking at when all you're sitting there is complaining about Kyle Pitts' target share. The only thing I will allow, is saying he should be getting more definitive red zone targets. And it's one of those things where the conversation has to be had from Arthur Smith to Marcus Mariota saying, throw Pitts the ball, period. Don't come off your first read. Just throw the ball up there and let him go get it, right? That's the one area I will actually concede where, okay, we need to make sure we're using him to our advantage. But everywhere else that people are complaining about and talking about game situations and why he didn't get the ball, again, you're telling on yourself. You just don't know what you're looking at. And the numbers keep popping up to justify the lack of targets that Pitts is getting and how it's still having a net positive for the offense. And I want to go to a couple of different things here because, again, I think this is really important to understand and to help you guys understand where we are. One, and this is from my good buddy Michael Rothstein of ESPN and ESPN.com. Michael Rothstein wrote in his column yesterday that 13 of Atlanta's passing plays on Sunday had Pitts as the primary target. Anybody remember how many pass attempts that Marcus Mariota attempted on Sunday? 26. Half, say it again with me, half of the targets that Marcus Mariota were to throw, the primary route was right to Kyle Pitts. Why did he only get 4 targets? You might have to ask Marcus Mariota that question and stop bothering Kyle Pitts and Arthur Smith about it, because if there is truth to that, and I trust Mike Rothstein as much as I've trusted any reporter in this business, he is diligent, he is smart, he knows who to talk to, and his information is as good as gold as far as I'm concerned. That said, because I believe him, 50% of the targets are going there, you might want to ask somebody else other than Kyle Pitts and Arthur Smith why the target share is what it is. You might want to start asking the guy, I don't know, who gets the snap from the quarterback and ask him, why are you not throwing the ball to Kyle Pitts? Maybe somebody else in the media. Nobody is out there in Seattle. I'm certainly not out there this week. They stayed out west. But nobody's going to go up to Marcus Mariota's locker and go, Marcus, source told me that 13 of the 26 pass attempts, Pitts was the primary target. Why didn't you get the ball to Pitts more? That's a question that needs to be asked, and it's fair to be asked. I can't help you. Guys, if I'm not there, I can't do it. And I'm physically not in Seattle to ask that question. There's more. There is more. And I'm going to explain to you not only why this is important, but the net positive it has on the offense in just a second. First, a word from my friends at betonline.net. Fastest and easiest way to check in on all of your sports betting needs. Find your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league, NFL going on right now. Get all the NFL content you need, as well as college football, Major League Baseball, rather, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, even golf. It's all right there. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports wagering information, from live in-game betting, which is so much fun, scores and podcasts. They've got you covered with every bit of information you need. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today. BetOnline, where the game starts. Okay, there's more. Mike Rothstein, in his column, also points out that the Falcons are doing exactly what they did a season ago in moving Pitts all over the field. In the first 2 games, get this, kids, he's run 12 routes out of the tight end position, 11 out of the slot on the left, 9 out of the wide out on the right, 8 on the slot to the right, 7 out of the wide out on the left, and 4 out of the tight end on the right. It's not like they're not trying to put him in mismatch situations, folks. They are. Guess what? The defense gets a say. There are very few players in this league where it doesn't matter what defense you put up there. They're going to have success. There's like a handful, like 3 or 4. Unfortunately, Kyle Pitts isn't in that group. It's not Kyle Pitts' fault. It's not Arthur Smith's fault. Just is what it is. So they're moving him all over, trying to find ways to take advantage of mismatches and catch the defense off guard. Now, what is that doing? Well, we've talked a little bit about this. Who's the benefactor of moving Kyle Pitts all over the place? Watching coverage being rolled to wherever he lines up, watching him get bracketed wherever he lines up. Who's the benefactor of all that? You know, it's Drake London. And how do we know that for 100% sure? Well, the good folks, if you're into these folks at Pro Football Focus, sometimes I think their nerdery is a little bit off the charts, but full disclosure, they do have some interesting things that I find quite useful, like the stat that I found yesterday and shared on my Twitter account. They put together a chart of target share and average depth of target on first read throws. Okay? So, because Kyle Pitts is going to be double covered, and the offense knows this, the target share, how many targets they're getting on first read throws, and average depth of target. Now, again, depth of target was a problem for the Falcons last year, particularly on play action. They weren't taking advantage of it by throwing the ball too short. Well, of the guys who have the longest depth downfield, you're talking about the George Pickens, Terry McLaurin's, Rashad Perryman's, Chris Olave's, those speedsters who were designed to do one thing, right down the field. But if you look at where Drake London is, okay, his target share, way out there. You want to know who gets the most target share on first read throws? Cooper Kupp, obviously by a mile. But in that next grouping, ready for the receivers who are all sitting there? Because I'll give you the names. CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, and Drake London. Isn't that good company to be in if you're a wide receiver? Because it seems like damn good company to be in, if you ask me. If Drake London is putting up any sort of statistical numbers that are Cooper Kupp, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs, Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, if he's putting up any of those numbers that are similar to those guys, that's good company. That's why you drafted him this year, to be in that company. Full disclosure, again, disagree with the draft pick. Philosophically, disagree with it. But it's working. And you have to acknowledge that it's working. And if Drake London is the benefactor of Kyle Pitts being double covered and bracketed and only getting 4 targets, and every time you call his number on a first primary route read and Mariota goes somewhere else, and that somewhere else happens to be Drake London, guess what? It works. Net positive for the offense. I can't believe I still have to explain this because some of my colleagues stink at this. But that's neither here nor there. But that's what's going on in the offense, folks. Stop whining about the target share and start looking at how the offense is operating overall. The targets are going to be there. The numbers are going to be there. You can't shut them out for all 16 games, 17 games. It's going to work itself out. And it likely will work itself out in Seattle this weekend. All right, coming up next, Braves are headed to the postseason. And yeah, I found another comparison for Spencer Strider. But he's got a cohort this time. I'll explain next right here on A to Z on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast, search Locked. Welcome back to A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast, search Locked On Sports Atlanta. Make sure you check out all the shows here. This is A to Z, of course, hitting hard with John Chuckery, ATL Day Ones, Tanisha Batiste, Jarvis Davis, our Braves postcast after every Braves game as well. Locked On Falcons, Locked On Hawks, and it's all on Roku TV right now. If you got a Fire Stick, you can check out Locked On Sports Atlanta on Roku TV. So make sure you follow us there. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Give the thumbs up and the like to all the content. We certainly appreciate all the love and support. Coming up here, next segment, we will get into why there is another gift for the Georgia Bulldogs. I'll explain that coming up here in just a few. But I wanted to turn our attention back to the Atlanta Braves here. And we get some news. Well, first of all, last night they beat the Washington Nationals, clinched a playoff spot, obviously. They are headed to the postseason. It's just a question in what capacity will that be as the NL East Division champs? They've won 4 straight division titles. Or will they go as a wild card trailing the Mets? The Mets won last night, stay a game out in front. Remember, they're tied in the loss column, so that is a plus for the Braves. We also get the news yesterday that Spencer Strider has a left oblique soreness. And Brian Snitker, said it was minor, not enough to put him on the IL, but they see Strider as too vital for the Braves to risk him having anything that could linger into the postseason or the series against the Mets coming up starting Friday, September 30th. And that could obviously determine who the NL East champion is. So, that said, both of these teams have lined up their starters for that series, or at least the Braves are now tinkering to do so. Bryce Elder is going to start today for the Braves in an afternoon matinee game as they finish out this game against Washington, or the series against Washington before they head to Philly. And that's skipping Strider's spot in the rotation, I guess, or bumping him a little bit. But regardless, the way it sets up right now, if Strider makes his next start, which is scheduled to be Monday, September 26th, in the first game at Nats Park against the Nationals, that means he would start the last game, the Sunday night game, against the Mets at Truist Park. Right now, the starters for that series slated are Wright, Morton, and what would be Strider. You just don't have the ability really to put Fried, Wright, and Strider together without somebody missing 6 or 7 days of pitching. So it's tough for the Braves to do it. Not impossible, but tough. And then you got to remember, hypothetically speaking, if you have Wright, Morton, and Strider going, that would allow you to have Fried pitch the first game of the Marlins series, meaning he would be ready for the first game of the playoffs, which is what you want, right? I think that's what you're looking for, as would Strider be ready for the 1-2 punch. And, I saw some consternation, again, as usual, with who's going to be the starting rotation for the Braves in the postseason. And I'm going to say it again because it bears repeating. Folks, this is not difficult. It is Max Fried, Spencer Strider, 1-2. That's it. And the comparison is very simply this. This is Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling in Arizona. It doesn't matter who the third and fourth starters are. When that is your 1-2 punch, it does not matter. It is the same thing for the Mets, okay, who have DeGrom and Scherzer. It really doesn't matter. And, oh, by the way, the Mets rotation sets up with their 3 best starters going against the Braves. Chris Bassett, Jacob DeGrom, and Max Scherzer would all be going in Truist Park. So it works out that way for the Mets, and they should have either DeGrom or Scherzer at the top of their first game of the playoffs whenever it happens. So, but that's the very simple comparison. This is Johnson and Schilling like it was in Arizona. It's Fried and Strider. Everybody else doesn't matter. If you win those games, great. If you don't worry about it because you've got Fried and Strider going and you're good. And that's how you're going to get to the postseason. If those two guys have an opportunity to pitch twice in a series, in a 7-game series, they're going to win. That's it. It's what it boils down to. If one of them has a chance to pitch twice in a 5-game series, they're going to win. That's how confident I am. Unless the bats go completely silent. They'll give up a run, 2 runs. But they're not going to get rocked for 5 or 6. Morton would. Odorizzi definitely would. And Wright's kind of, I don't know. He's not hit and miss. He's been effective all year long. I just don't think he's as dominant as Fried or Strider. So that for me is closes the argument right there on who's 1 and who's 2. There is one more thing that I've come to the revelation with the Braves about, and I probably have to say I was wrong. I'll tell you what that is in a second. First, a word from my friends at Coffee AM, the best small batch coffee roaster in America, and it's right here in Georgia. Why are they the best? Coffees are so fresh. They roast them and ship them on the same day or very close to it, and they have coffees from all over the world, organic trade, fair trade, direct trade. It is some of the best roasted coffee you'll ever see, and it's from all over the world. Sumatra, Kenya, Tanzania, Costa Rica, Colombia. You pick it, spin a globe, hit your finger, stop it on somewhere. And if they make coffee, Coffee AM's got it. Go to coffeeam.com/locked-on. Check out the full menu of coffees, teas, and gift sets at your leisure. Pick anything you like. Make sure you use that coupon code locked on at checkout, and you'll get 15% off your first order. Coffees, teas, gift sets, and a whole lot more. Again, coffeeam.com/locked on, the place to go. Coffee AM, the best small batch coffee roaster in America. I, in months past, have sort of advocated for the Braves being willing to let Dansby Swanson walk. I was actually at the Braves game last night for a short moment. It was my kid's school had, school night at Truist Park. And simply put, there are so many intangibles that Dansby does that are hard to account for. And when you just watch him play, you can tell where they are. I mean, outside of just objectively being the 3rd or 4th, let's just even be conservative. The 5th best shortstop in Major League Baseball offensively, guys, is 30 teams. If he's in the top 5, you do the math. There aren't many like him. And while there is a sense of, at least always with me, sort of like fiscal responsibility in how you manage your players and what you do with them and the contracts you hand out and everything else. And I'm not going to get caught up in Vaughn Grissom being his replacement and that automatically working. I think that's a silly argument at this point in time. Yes, it's silly. The guy's played about 35 major league games. So pump the damn brakes. That's about all I can tell you. I don't think Dansby is a guy that you can let go. It's hard to replace them, right? Unless there is there was a Matt Olson sitting out there with Freddie Freeman. If Matt Olson had not been out there and available, and I'm sure Alex did his homework before, hey, if we lose Freddie and he goes somewhere else, what are our options? And I'm sure he made a couple of phone calls. I know he's made a couple of phone calls out there as well, but it's like, what else are we going to give away here? How much of the farm system are we going to deplete to get somebody else? And I don't think that's the road they want to go down. Plus, shortstops are infinitely cheaper than first basemen are. Even though Dansby is one of 5 who can do what he does offensively, still overall, there's a sense of a $35-40 million contract for a first baseman. You're probably in the 25-27 range for a high-level shortstop. So I think things are a little bit different. But, yeah, I mean, I'm at the point right now where I've kind of come around on this simple idea that I don't know if you can let Dansby walk. I think you got to do everything you need to do to re-sign him, especially being a core piece of already a World Series team. What will be another one. I think you got to hang on to Dansby. Dansby's important. All right, coming up next, we'll hand out Shovel of Wisdom as well. A gift for the Georgia Bulldogs, like as if they need it anymore. We'll explain that next right here on A to Z on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Search Locked On Sports. Welcome back to A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Search Locked On Sports Atlanta on Roku TV as well. Your Amazon Fire Stick. Check out Locked On ATL every single day on Twitter at Locked On ATL. I'm at Mark Zinno, MarkZinno. Now time for a shovel of wisdom.
Brace yourselves, because it's time for the shovel of wisdom.
You know how we do it every day. We got to set somebody straight saying you're doing something stupid. And today I have a large group of people I need to hit with the shovel right upside the head. You can do so on my Twitter account. I just use the hashtag shovel of wisdom. Today my shovel goes to anyone who thinks Shohei Ohtani is the MVP. Nope. What happened? Oh, man. My shovel, it doesn't work. It's broken. Oh, it's terrible. I don't know what happened. Let me see if I can get it to one more. I'll recall it up here. So anyway, everybody who is in this whole world of there it is. Anyway, Aaron Judge last night hit his 60th home run, and I've been fortunate enough to see a lot of cool things happen in my sports life. Right? I feel like, the careers of Tom Brady and LeBron James and Derek Jeter, these are all things that, you're just fortunate enough. And I think if you're smart, you realize you go, hey, I'm lucky to have seen these things while they are going on. But what is frustrating for me, because, and this goes beyond, guys, I'm objective enough. This goes beyond me being a Yankee fan, right? This is the purest thing we've seen in a Major League Baseball record in our lifetimes. It's that simple. I remember the days of Ken Griffey Jr. chasing Roger Maris. I'm old enough, young enough, one or the other, to remember those days and how awesome it was, and he never caught him. We're watching something we know is clean, we know is pure, we know isn't tainted. And it's something that we've been waiting to see broken for real for our entire lifetime. I'm not sitting here recognizing that if Judge gets to 62, that he is the single season home run. He's not. Barry Bonds is. That's fine. I don't need to have that conversation. But this is flat out one of the most amazing things we've ever seen. I don't give a rip that Shohei Ohtani pitches. Aaron Judge is leading in the Triple Crown with 12 days left in the season. He has the best batting average, the best, obviously the most home runs and the most RBIs in the American League. What? I don't care if Shohei Ohtani threw 2 no-hitters this year. You're watching a guy have a Triple Crown season and break the home run record, and you think you want to give the MVP to somebody else? Oh, dear Lord. Metrics up here, you know what? Spare me, you folks. You're just hating because he's in a Yankee uniform. Give me a break. I can't even stomach the idea. If Major League Baseball voters give Shohei Ohtani the MVP this year, I literally may never read another baseball article the rest of my life. Honestly, because that's just ridiculous. Oh, but Shohei, if Aaron Judge was on the team with Shohei Ohtani, he'd be the second best player. I don't give a rip. The MVP isn't about who the best player on the team is. Ronald Acuna is the best player on the Braves. He's not the team MVP this year, period. He's not. I don't know what that means. He's not the best player on the team. Aaron Judge is the best WAR. He is the best. He's number one in every offensive statistical category, not just in the American League, in all of Major League Baseball. How is the guy not the MVP? The idea that anybody's even debating this to me is ludicrous and it's stupid. Sit back, relax, enjoy the pursuit, watch him break Roger Maris's record, and then watch him get the MVP and don't be mad about it. It's that simple. When you see greatness, know it, recognizing it, understanding it, and moving on. You don't have to try to debate where it belongs. Just enjoy the greatness. Really simple. Forget the you know what, out of here with this Shohei Ohtani's the MVP. I don't care. I genuinely do not care. Genuinely don't care. It's not something that winds my clock. Be a great pitcher, be a great hitter. Guess what? He's very good at both this year. He's not great at either. And if he is, he'd be winning the Cy Young. Is he winning the Cy Young? I don't even know. Well, those like Verlanders are doing seasons, whatever. But regardless, I'm off my soapbox. Let's move on to Georgia. We take on Kent State this weekend. We're going to kick their ass. That's the end of that. I don't need to get involved in any of that. Not a number that I want to play with Kent State as far as betting is concerned. But the Georgia 2023 schedule came out, and it's been released next year. I don't know that they can get a schedule that's much easier than what they got next year. They open up against first 4 games at home, obviously. Open up against Tennessee Martin. They'll likely be putting another banner up there celebrating back-to-back national title. Ball State, South Carolina, Alabama, Birmingham. Now, they're going to go to Auburn on September 30th. And according to the AJC, it's the first time they've played before October 1st, played against Auburn since February 20th, 1892, which was the second game in Georgia football history. Teams typically wait until November. Late November until the 2020 season. So, whatever. But the problem here is that Auburn's not going to get good in a year, so it's not really going to be a challenge. And look, maybe Stetson Bennett won't be back for like a 9th season at Georgia. So, maybe UGA won't be as efficient at quarterback, but we'll see. They get Kentucky at Sanford Stadium the following week. They have to travel to Vanderbilt, get the bye, and then the cocktail party on October 28th. They come home from Missouri and Ole Miss the first 2 weeks in November. Then they got to go at Tennessee on November 18th. That will be the toughest game on the schedule next year as we sit here right now and look at it. And of course, they travel to Bobby Dodd to go take on Georgia Tech, who's barely a Power 5 team at this point in time. So it's really another favorable schedule in another year. I mean, this is one of the things that I guess conference realignment will sort of change a little bit when they get more teams and you get away from that, 8 conference games and 4 non-conference games schedule. That you'll if you move to the 9 conference games or 10 conference games, whatever it is, then you get some more of those SEC West opponents on your schedule. It just so happened again they haven't seen Ole Miss since 2016 rather. Kirby Smart's first year, Ole Miss smoked them. And it's the last time that Ole Miss has been to Stanford is 2012, obviously. But still, I don't know that Georgia is going, other than Alabama, Arkansas right now, maybe LSU. I give LSU another year. I think if Georgia faces them in 2024, that's going to be a tough test. But, the SEC West is sort of not great right now. After Bama, and Arkansas, you really struggle to figure out who's next. A&M is falling off, obviously. Look, they're having, LSU is in state transition, so is Auburn. Ole Miss is obviously there, but again, I don't know if they are as formidable as they were last year. So, looks like 3 in a row for Georgia. That's what it smells like from here. 3 national titles in a row. Back champs. All right, that'll do it for us here on A to Z. Back tomorrow for a Thursday edition of the show. Give me a follow on Twitter at Mark Zinno, at Locked On ATL. You guys have a wonderful Wednesday afternoon. See you tomorrow. I'll take a crap.